What's up, everybody? We're back. Another new episode of the Last Wave podcast. We dive into topics like ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, nerd stuff, and conspiracies. As always, thanks for listening. It means a whole lot to us. We're going to cut this intro a little short, just so we can cover all of the stuff that we're currently doing. First and foremost, the channel's getting a lot of love. We did start a blog. I'm working on that as well, and that is getting a ton of views. I mean, I think it was 1,200 and something the last 30 days. So, I mean, let's just keep that going. There's links to that all over the Facebook page. And in a couple videos, there's links to that as well. The Facebook page is really the best way to stay up to date on everything that we're doing here. All the research, the articles, pictures, episodes, obviously, all that stuff. The blog is a great way to follow side stories. Also, some research into stuff that is on some of the episodes as well. It's just all around, it's really good. There's a mailing list on there you can subscribe to. There's a plan there to where it's a couple dollars a month to help the channel out. You know, whatever y'all want to do. So definitely subscribe to the mailing list, though, because I try to send out one every now and then, especially when a couple new articles go up. So, between the videos on this and the articles on that, I try to do at least 2 each per week. Maybe a little bit, maybe 1 to 2, but at least 1 a week on each. I've got another big side project going on beside the channel in the Last Wave universe here. So I'm really crunched for time, but I'm trying to get everything done, trying to get everything out. Still looking to take on anyone who wants to help with researching, anyone who wants to do some episodes, help host, write some blog articles. Let me know, message me. You can message me on the Facebook page, the article, or the blog. You can message me there as well. So anyway, now that whole spiel is over, today we're going to go over random unsolved mysteries. And this is just some stuff that I found during research that probably it wasn't capable of running an entire episode by itself. But together, it's just some really cool little tidbits of information, some unexplained mysteries, that kind of stuff. And it's something I've really been into lately. It's something, if you've read any of the blog, you've seen and just like random stuff throughout history, items that don't make sense, that kind of thing. If you've seen the blog, then you know some of that. Some of the episodes have been focused on that as well, like haunted items. So it's been around. So again, for this episode, I've amassed a few really incredible mysteries that I found throughout the internet and some books at home. First, and the saddest yet cutest, would be an excerpt from a conversation between Coco, the sign language gorilla, and his trainer. Yeah, that kind of paranormal, I guess. It's extraordinary more than paranormal, but still cool. Anyway, Coco was a well-known gorilla who was trained for conversing and interacting with many people in sign language. Celebrities talk to the gorilla. Is featured in National Geographic. All that cool stuff. Her instructor and caregiver, Francine Patterson, reported that Coco had an active vocabulary of more than 1,000 signs of what Patterson calls gorilla sign language. This puts Coco's vocabulary at the same level as a 3-year-old human. In contrast to other experiments attempting to teach sign language to non-human primates, Patterson simultaneously exposed Coco to spoken English from an early age. It was reported that Coco understood approximately 2,000 words of spoken English in addition to the signs. In one certain conversation, though, between Coco and the trainer, Coco is shown a picture of a skeleton, and the trainer asked, "Is this alive or dead?" Coco signed, "Dead, draped." Draped means covered up. The trainer then asked Coco, "Where do animals go when they die?" Coco replied, "A comfortable hole." And then she gave the sign for a kiss goodbye. This is a really interesting story. It surprised many people, the trainer, and it left a lot of room for philosophical debates. If only Coco was still around to elaborate on the thought. But again, this was a while ago. So, yeah, not a super interesting mystery, but I thought it was cool. I'd never heard about this story. And I'd seen Coco interacting with like Robin Williams and a couple other celebrities back in the day. But there was plenty of debate as to what Coco meant. Sadly, she did pass away in 2018, so we can't ask any more questions. But it is something to think about, for sure. A comfortable hole. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean that, you know, again, these are some theories that obviously you go back into the earth, that kind of thing, or you'll see when an animal is sick or dying, sometimes they'll retreat to, like a place. They'll go somewhere like a bed or something like that to, be comfortable. So, is that all she meant? Sadly, we'll never know. But it's definitely something interesting to pose that question to what we would consider an animal, and then that's the response you get. So was I thought it was very interesting. Not something I'd usually cover, but definitely very cool. Our next mystery is one that has baffled scientists for hundreds of years: the dancing plague of 1518. Now, I've released like a picture of this. I've been researching this one for a little while. The dancing plague started in Strasbourg, Alsace, which is modern day France. A young woman inexplicably began to dance feverishly in the streets of the town. She went for hours, and then days, and then weeks, and further increasing the mystery, by the end of the first week, 34 others had joined her, dancing, moving, swaying their bodies until exhaustion or even death took them. By the end of the month, there were around 400 reported people dancing in the streets, day in and day out. Most of the dancers were female, apparently. They seemed to have lost complete control of their own bodies. Some reports, which are debated still today, state that there may have been as many as 15 deaths a day during the highest point of this plague, due to heart attack, stroke, or just exhaustion. And it doesn't say this, but I would assume exposure to the elements as well. Nobles, lawmen, and doctors were all baffled, and they were so baffled they literally prescribed dancing as the cure, thinking that people would only tire themselves out and then break free from the sickness. This went so far as nobles in the area hiring musicians and opening guild halls so people could dance indoors. This only seemed to increase the number of affected people, however, and the dancing and the deaths continued for an unknown amount of time officially. Eventually, the plague did end and the world returned to normal. While still debated, the main theories these days are one, a trip similar to LSD. This was caused by bacteria that grows on wheat. The bacteria can mimic effects of LSD, so in layman's terms, these people were affected by a food poisoning of sorts, but did not know it, so more than likely everyone in town was affected in some way or another by this bacterial growth. This, plus the fact that so many were enveloped, suggests that it is possible some of the dancers were also drawn to join, which is the second thought. Just kind of like a more or less a mass hysteria in a time of high superstition, which is not uncommon when you look at the Salem witch trials, which some people believe the same fungus may have had a hand in the hysteria there as well. This is a really crazy mystery, and it's the fact that it's still debated today, hundreds of years later, is wild to me. And if it happened today, I would just assume it's drugs anyway. So maybe that is what it is. But I do remember the fungus and them talking about that, how it mimics LSD, and you never know. Some people could be affected by it, and some people just join in. Again, the superstition and the times, things were obviously different. Some people probably saw it as a miracle or something they had to do, something along those lines. But again, just the fact that it's still up in the air, no one really knows completely what happened, I think is really crazy. But up next, we go to the seemingly mummified body of Lady Day, otherwise known as Zhen Zhui, the Marquis of Dai. I'm gonna say Dai. I think it's Dai, but it's probably Day. Either way, she lived during the Han Dynasty of ancient China. Her tomb was found 2,000 years after her death, along with hundreds of valuable artifacts. The most surprising find, however, was the incredibly well-preserved corpse of Lady Day. While her hair, eyelashes, and nails were still somewhat intact, Lady Day was also found with all of her organs and blood vessels intact. There was also a small amount of type A blood found in her veins. And she still had hair and eyelashes, again, as I said. Scientists found seeds of melon in her stomach, which led them to believe she died during melon season in the summer. This also meant she died within a couple hours of eating a melon. What surprised everyone the most was the mysterious liquid that her body was being soaked in. It was mildly acidic and had some magnesium in it. It was probably what helped preserve the body, but to this day, scientists still don't know what the kind of liquid it was. This is to me pretty fascinating and again shows the ability of ancient peoples to be more advanced in ways that we can't understand. And like you find that in these stories that like I just don't get it. As far along as we are, how we don't know certain things. Um, it just it just baffles me. It baffles me that we don't know what type of liquid or what type of mixture of liquids this person was buried in. That's just crazy. Finally, for today, let's talk about disappearing islands. This happens more than one might think. Two more well-known examples are Barmia Island and Sandy Island. Barmia, mapped originally in 1846, is known as the Phantom Island. It was seen on maps off the north coast of the Yucatan all the way until the 20th century. What's interesting about this island is that a search for it found nothing that could have been called an island. The research started when somebody pointed out that the island has no real boundaries and rights of oil in the Gulf of Mexico. Once authorities started looking for this piece of land, they found nothing but water, and to this day, nobody can explain whether or not this island ever actually existed. How you lose an entire island is beyond me, but we'll get into that. Sandy Island, certainly the more famous missing island, mapped and discovered in 1876, and having existed on maps until the mid 2000s, is no longer where it was supposed to be. In fact, there is no trace of it at all. The island was reported as nearly the size of Washington D.C., so that was no just little rock in the middle of the ocean. Even Google Maps at the time of the undiscovery noted the area as just a black blob, which no one could find an explanation for apparently. Again, here we have no explanation for things that we should definitely have explanations for. How is this possible with the modern tech that we supposedly have? Satellite imaging, sonar. How is it possible that we can lose an entire island or mistake something for an island? It just baffles me. But errors in cartography and mapping do happen, even in modern times. In 2005, a nuclear submarine near Guam slammed into the side of an underwater mountain. Repairs cost millions, and the map indicated only water where the mountain was. And again, crazy to think that these things literally happen. One semi-logical theory, in my opinion, that has been put forth to explain why Sandy Island and Barmia Island disappeared are what's called pumice rafts. Pumice rafts are a layer of floating pumice that rests on the water surface after an underwater eruption. Now, I have seen these before, and they don't look like islands. Like, if you have been at sea for any amount of time, you can see these are not islands. They move with the waves. They basically just sit on top. So I can't imagine. I go back to the mysterious creatures episodes and things like that, where you hear a native tribe saying that they saw something, but the English come in and think that they're just crazy, even though they've been there for 1,000 years. If you're an experienced sailor out in the middle of the ocean and you see a pumice raft, it's totally and completely different than what an island would look like. So anyway, in her EOS article, Seton, the scientist working on the island's undiscovery, notes that an eruption near Tonga in 2001 and 2002 produced a pumice raft that traveled about 2,000 miles toward Australia, and it did pass within 13 miles of the location of Sandy Island, the island that never was. Now, okay, so it's possible. It's possible, I get it, it's possible. But again, I'll try to post a picture of a pumice raft after this episode, just so everyone's clear. It's just something that literally floats, like it moves with the waves. It's not hard to delineate that this is not an actual island. So I don't know what to tell them. One thing I do know and do remember from our other episodes for underwater cryptids is talking about giant whales that are so big, or these creatures that are so big that they are mistaken for islands, even to the point where fishermen dock at these suspected islands and then are very surprised when the island moves or goes underwater, that type of thing. It's even been mentioned in history that there are, there's grass, trees, bushes, etc., on the backs of these giant creatures. So that is also a possibility, even though it's the far more far-fetched, crazy possibility. But I like that. I like that one better than just a boring old pumice raft. But this stuff has been researched for a while. I mean, I've heard about Sandy Island, gosh, years ago on History Channel, Discovery Channel, it's things of that nature, and these whole islands that just vanish. Is it an alien, you know, craft or something that is being mistaken for something? Is it these pumice rafts? Is it giant creatures? Is it, some type of technology that we're not aware of from like times of Atlantis, where you have Atlantis, which is a large island or a large city that just vanishes beneath the waves? Is it something along those lines? There's a lot of stuff up in the air, and you don't really know for sure what it is. And it troubles me that, again, I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart because I believe that we're not always told the truth. But you have all of these instances where we're modern times, we're supposed to have all this, satellites above us, thousands of satellites above us, and we can't figure out if an island is real. You know, like these are the questions that need to be figured out as to why we can't figure out those things. Either way, we'll leave that for another episode. But that's all I've got for today. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Uh, Catch us on the next episode. Again, check us out: Facebook, Twitter, the blog, Patreon.com. Patreon.com. I actually am doing a few patron-only videos or podcasts as well. So there is stuff on there that no one else is getting to see. And again, it's only a couple dollars a month. Helps us out. I take a tremendous amount of time. I mean, just to do the blog and this, between the blog and show notes and stuff like that. I mean, it's 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 pages of research that is getting typed up, on the daily. So again, it is not, it would be nice to have that, little bit of help. But we do it because it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy the research. Thanks for tuning in, and hope everybody had a happy holiday. And we'll catch you on the next episode.